Okay, so we've got this London town thing happening from last time, the last installment of our series of videos. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make some buttons. And buttons are really tricky. They can be very boring. But the good thing is you only have to do one. So I'm going to make a new layer. You only ever have to make one button, theoretically. You have to break it up later on. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than I want, so I'm going to make it that big. And for now I'm going to use a color of, I'm going to fill in this layer. Actually, before I do that, I'm now going to modify that selection. I'm going to smooth that selection. I'm going to give it a radius of 10 pixels. You see how we've got this round button shape happening now? So this is just a selection, which I'm now going to color. I'm going to color it orange. This orange. Oh, I don't like that orange. A bit more of an intense orange, because I'm going to lighten the crap out of it later on. So I picked the paint bucket there, and I've just filled my selection in with that orange color. Select, deselect. Doesn't look very fantastic, right? But we're getting to that. I can now use the layer styles to bevel and emboss the button. At the moment that's an obvious bevel and emboss, but we'll make the depth bigger, we'll make the size a bit less like that, so it's a bit more of a button like that, and we'll soften the beveliness of it. So it's got a bit more of a sort of textured bevel and emboss on the button. I'm also going to put a drop shadow there. I'm going to knock the drop shadow back to my favourite, 30%. And I'm going to give it 2 and 2. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little stroke around the whole thing. And it's already saying 3 pixels, but I like 1 pixel. Okay. So there's a button. It's too big. Way too big. So I'm going to shrink it down to what I want. Now I'm pressing Shift as I modify the size of this button. I'm going to go to that. And Enter to enter the button. So that's a better button as far as I'm concerned. Text on the button. I'm writing home here. Now on a website it's good to have just 2 fonts rather than too many. So I'm using 2 fonts. I'm using that font there, but now I'm going to change the font of this to Arial, because Arial is just so readable. It's boring and readable, and that's what I want. And I don't want 24 point, I want 18 point. There we go, that's a bit better. I don't want it that far across, I want it that far across. So I'm just using my little arrow keys rather than the mouse to position it. Oh gee, I could actually might make that Arial black because it's hard to see, or just use bold here. That's better. And I'm going to put the slightest of drop shadows on it just to give it a bit of a, just to give it a very mild drop shadow again. 1 pixel, 1 pixel, 1 pixel. That's what I want. Actually make that last one 2. Whoa, hey, not 12, 2. Okay, now we've got a home button. Still think the text is slightly too big, but we'll move it up. Now before I get too far in this, I'm going to make some folders. I'm going to tuck everything nice and neatly away into folders. You've really got to be button background. I'm going to put make another folder for headings, or just text. I'm just going to make a text folder. Stick the history of London in there, and London town in there. Now make another folder for backgrounds. Whoa, gee whiz, what happened there? Make another folder for backgrounds. And put that at the bottom and shove all this stuff into there. So this way we don't stuff up or touch things that we don't need to touch. And that's a locked layer. You can get rid of that if you want, but you end up with that, so don't. Okay, so we've got buttons. We've got a home button. Now it's just a matter of, say we're happy with those buttons, just a matter of copying the button. So you copy it into this one. And I'm even going to copy the word home. I'm going to move the copies down a layer, down with the, just visually, manually. This is what I do for spacing. You can actually, there's lots of tools here that you can space things with, but I get them touching and then I literally count pixels. 1, 2, 3, 4. Talking to myself, I'm talking into the mic here. Okay, and I'm going to make this say about us. Why am I being so boring? Because people know what about us means. People know what home means. You've got to have a home button. You've got to have an about us button. I just think that's life on the web. And a contact us button you also have to have. So there's 2 buttons, and that's the second installment of this fantastic and amazing Photoshop tutorial.